This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Just the other day, we hosted the President of the United States in New Delhi. Now we have another president from America, another kind of president. He does not have the power to launch war anywhere in the world, but 7 years ago, Time magazine put him on the cover as a member of a committee to save the world. Dr. Lawrence Summers, president of Harvard University, one of the most powerful academic jobs in the world. And you gave up that job last month because you chose to speak your mind or to walk your talk, isn't it?
Well, I'm looking forward to being able to speak freely and work on a wide range of economic issues going forward. You know, after many years in government and at Harvard, I'm really looking forward to the chance to return to thinking hard about global economic issues, and of course India is going to be a very large part of all of that.
No, Larry, that's the funny part. I took so much time introducing you, and I did not even introduce you as an economist yet.
Well, that was how I got my start, and some of the happiest years of my life were as a professor at Harvard before I went into government, and I'm looking forward to working on economic issues again.
Professor, at 28, I read somewhere one of your MIT professors said that you were born in full bloom.
I don't know about that, but I guess I've always had a bit of a passion for economics.
Right, but you said also that somehow you were introduced more generously as the Harvard president than as an economist.
Well, I think there's always a tendency of people to make a little fun of economists. You know, people would often introduce me when I was a professor of economics by asking me if I knew what it takes to succeed as an economist, and then they'd explain that an economist was somebody who was pretty good with figures, but doesn't quite have the personality to be an accountant. And so one moved on from that.
Or a successful economist was somebody who at 28 became an investment banker and not a professor at Harvard.
Well, I don't know about that. My own commitment is very much to working to make the world a better place. And obviously people in business do that in many ways, but I think in government and in the university, we're able to do a lot of things that touch many people's lives, and that's very important to me.
You know, the other fascinating thing about you is how much you've done at such a young age. And I'm speaking from a country where cabinet ministers can be in their 80s. In fact, the older they are, the more wise they are supposed to be. You know, you were the youngest this, the youngest that, the youngest professor, the youngest treasury secretary, the youngest Harvard president. And I think you will forever be the youngest former president at Harvard. Nobody retires at 52.
It could turn out that way. You know, I think that's an increasing issue for all our countries and all our institutions. One of the things I worked very hard at Harvard was increasing the chances for younger scholars to become professors at the university, because I felt that in that way we would get some of the most creative thinking. And it's worried me a great deal as I've looked at the university that our average tenured faculty member now has an age close to 60.
Right.
And it seems to me that at a time when what universities need to do is connect to the concerns of the young, be as creative as possible. One of the things we need to do at Harvard, and that universities in general need to do, is to make sure that they've got a faculty that really is at the most creative possible stage and best able to connect with their students.
We all remember what you did at Treasury, because you inherited such a deficit and you turned it to surplus. Maybe you will be called upon to do that again in the next Clinton presidency, who knows. But the reason I'm talking to you first as Harvard president and maybe come next as an economist is because I know that most of my viewers, Indian parents, grown-up Indians, what matters to them more is a child at Harvard. They will trade that for 2,000 points on the Sensex anytime.
Well, there are many great universities, and certainly Harvard is one of them. And I think that what Harvard has to do, and what we're trying to do, is open ourselves up in as many ways as we possibly can. You know, as I've often said, the larger a lake you fish in, the bigger the fish you will catch. And that's why we're reaching to the whole world more now than we ever have before. That's why we've tried to remove all the financial barriers. You know, now at Harvard College, any student whose family earns less than
$40,000
$40,000 a year family doesn't have to pay anything to send the child to college. And that's a policy that's not just an American policy, but it's a global policy for us.
Fact,
it's because of that commitment that I think we can maximize the contribution that we can make.